Good afternoon, my friends. How exciting to have so many people join the live stream today. So welcome everyone from wherever you're watching. We're live on YouTube, we're live on Mixer, we're live on Pickato, we're live on my personal Facebook profile. So hello to all my Facebook friends whom I haven't said hello to in a while. I believe we're also on Pickato and we're on something else, dlive.tv. And of course we're on Twitch too. And I think there's another service, I've forgotten about that. It's in Korea. So hello to all my friends in Korea. There we go. It's an exciting, event-packed, jam-packed day today. So thanks, David. Thank you, Christina. Thank you, Dreamlab. Thank you, Karen. Thank you, Patrick, for joining. Thank you, whomever I've forgotten, because I'm sure I've forgotten somebody. Please don't take it personally. If I have, say hello. Zinkau, for example. Hello, hello. How you doing? Very good to meet you. Julia and I have just come back from a little trip to Little Haiti, where I thought I was going to have a CT scan today, but it turned out they decided to mix my appointment kind of around, like, you know, since it's mixer and all. So there we go. Crazy stuff. My appointment is next week, together with the colonoscopy. Anyway, one of those things. Too much information. Too much information, perhaps. They're on separate days, so it's not the same day. That would be kind of crazy. But no, they're on separate days. So we did go there anyway because Julia had a procedure done, just a routine screening. So I did spend some time in the waiting lounge there, and so I had a little bit of, I didn't have a lot of time this morning, is what I'm trying to say. So when I woke up, I found a message from Patrick today. So hello, Patrick. Very nice that you could join us. And I've made the thumbnail that you've seen there on the relevant interfaces, on the relevant services, which was, I'm trying to find it, guys. Here it is. There we go. This is it. And that is a character that we're going to animate. So I've made the animation. I didn't have a lot of time for that. And good. Julia says something went wrong, but no, everything's fine. Everything's fine. Cool. So yes, I did that this morning. And it is an animation. Let me in fact show you the animation, which for some bizarre reason I can't play back on Windows. Can you believe that? Crazy stuff. So Windows can render it, but it can't quite play it back. So here is the animation, and something along those lines we're going to create today. So I had to upload it to Vimeo, and that's where we can watch it now. It's something that Patrick said, hey, how would you make a character come out of the light and then come out of the darkness and step into the light? And there are several ways of doing that. And as I said, I didn't have a lot of time to think about that, but I did cobble something together, and I had that render while we were sitting at the doctor. So that didn't take as long as I thought it was going to take. I thought it was going to take like 2 to 3 hours to render, but it didn't actually. It only took just over an hour. So that was very, very cool. And we're going to build this whole thing. And the exciting thing is that you can get all the scene assets of this scene on my Patreon for free. I mean, you know, if you're signing up as a Patreon, then you get access to those scene files. Anything I've done in preparation, anything I'm building from scratch in this stream, you're going to get the DAS Studio scene, which we're going to take a look at in a moment. So this is it here. That's what we're going to recreate. The top part here is the camera view. The bottom part is the preview here. So this is how I've done it. I've moved the light, I've twisted the light, I've moved the camera, and I've had the character step towards the camera. And there's a little bit of magic going on with keyframes, so we're going to see a little bit how that works. A few tips I can give you along the lines of animation. David wants to get into animation, Patrick's into animation, Karen wants to get into animation, so, you know, Karen is my latest Patreon supporter together with Zinkau. So thank you so much, guys, for signing up. And I'm going to give you that. I'm also going to give you this Photoshop scene in which I've animated this together. So I've tried the fog overlay in the background here, so I can switch that off. It's going on in the background right now, so that she steps basically from the background. The only thing I've done here in Photoshop is assemble the image sequence and replace the gradient at the back, because this is there's nothing here, and DAS Studio just renders that transparently. So there we go. Yes, we're going to learn about that. There's two trickeries going on. One is the positioning of the light Dreamlab, and the other one is the light intensity. So we're going to play with both to create that effect that we've seen. In fact, let's just watch it one more time. In fact, let me save this here so that we don't lose it. Let's watch it one more time, so that we can always while we're building this, we can always remind ourselves what we're actually doing. So a couple of other things that are going on here. I don't know if I can pause this. I can. I think, yeah, I can. Can I scroll through this? Just about. So she starts off with like coming out of the light, but we have a light in there already, otherwise we wouldn't see anything. So there's a light in there already. So this is now shifting the position of the light more towards her face. She's also blinking, and after the blink she's changing her expression too, and then she stops. And you can of course play with that animation for, you know, as long as you want. I just didn't have the time. So let's see how we can do that. Yes, and Christina and Julia will take care of the link moderation there. Very nice of you to take care of that. I really like that. So I'm going to use a couple of products for this demonstration. This one is REBEKAH, that's our main character, REBEKAH for Victoria 8 by the wonderful Fred Winkler. He makes amazing characters. If you check out his work, both on Renderosity and on DAZ 3D, he has an eye, he has the talent, he makes unbelievable characters, really, really cool. And I found her in my library and I thought we're going to use her. I believe she's from the Victoria 8 Pro and Starter bundle, currently on offer at DAZ 3D. And David, this is something we had discussed earlier, that Regina, I think Regina is not here today, I'm afraid, but this is something that we've discussed earlier. Sometimes it'll say to you required products. Here, let me just go bring up my little pointing device. There we go, so that we can see things a little bit better. In here you can see the required products for this is Victoria 8, and if you were to click on Victoria 8, you will also see that Victoria 8 then requires another product. So sometimes that's how custom characters can be very difficult to get all the right products for. So some people have things like required products as Victoria 8 and also head morphs and body morphs, so keep an eye on that. Along with the character, we're going to use this outfit here, and it has two advantages. One is we don't need any hair for this, and the second advantage is it renders fairly fast. I think I tried a different outfit first, and that just took so long to render, and with animations you really want to keep it to a minimum. So there we go. Oh, you know her, Patrick, personally? Yes, she is nice. I haven't played with her for a while, so it's nice to it's nice to to get an opportunity to do that. So yes, the Andromeda Sci-Fi outfit for Genesis 8 female. And for the composition, I'm using this here, which is from my own Patreon page, which is the animated fog overlay HD version. And there's upload limitations on Patreon. There you can only upload, I think, a file with about 200 megabytes. Which is why I've split the 1 minute animation that you get into 4 parts here. And they are just a portion of the animation, so you can just pop them in one another. If you need like a 1 minute animation, you can just take part 1, part 2, part 3, part 4. They're all going to go seamlessly once after that. There we go. That's what we're going to use. Let's get on with it. I'm going to save that scene. So we're going to start with a completely clean slate. So it's not a very long animation here. You can see it's about 100 frames, 108 frames, so that's not too long. And I did that in the benefit of render time, of course. So let's see what we can come up with here. Let me close that studio down. I like doing that because when you just create a new scene, some of the parameters you will use are still persistent, and you don't have to change them from scratch. And I would like you, to get the full benefit of what it is that happens when you go and start it afresh, and don't have anything taken over there. Very cool. I still got my dual viewports open. I don't think I'll use them for a while, so I'm going to go and just close them down under Windows, Viewports, Single View, and that'll get me this. So there's a couple of ways we can start. We can bring in the character. We can bring in a plain animation. Yeah, exactly, Zinka. That's exactly right. That also happens. Maybe we'll start with the first thing in the scene, which is just a plain old plane, maybe. So let's head over here and create a new primitive. That'll be our floor. If we don't have a floor, then she wouldn't really cast shadows. And I'm going to make this a 50-meter size, just one division primitive, Y up, and that's going to be our floor here. While I load the character in, let me just go and switch this over to smooth shaded view. Therefore, there's no nudity on YouTube or on Mixer. Very exciting stuff. Let's go over to my figures and load REBEKAH in. REBEKAH already comes with a iRay shader, so that's perfect. That's exactly what we want. And we can give her that Andromeda outfit already. So let's select her, head over back onto my Smart Content tab. I'm going to click to Wardrobe. There's not that much installed on this machine here, and this is it, the Andromeda Sci-Fi outfit. And newer sets, they usually have every single item, like boots, helmet, gloves, and whatever else comes with it, but they also sometimes have a wearable preset. And that's something I think they've introduced with Genesis 3, with the Genesis 3 range, that if you have wardrobe and it has a wearable preset, that basically puts all these things onto the character at the same time. So you only have to click this thing. Let's try it out. Older content often doesn't have that, and you have to select the character, then click on the boots, then click on the shirt, then click on, and so forth. And you have to do that several times. You can create your own wearable preset. That's also possible, but we're not going to talk about that today. I'm using Aniblocks that I just magically found in my library. And I don't really recall where they're from. I believe, and don't quote me on this, but I believe they're from the Genesis 8 starter package, I believe. So where I found them is literally in walks. So under animate, there's walks, and that's where these puppies came up here. And one of them is corner left, and then there's corner right. And I was toying with the idea of maybe using them. Whoops, this was corner left. If you hover over them, they preview what the animation is doing, but they also expand. That makes it very difficult to select them here. This is on the bottom left-hand side here. So this is then corner right. And then there's also the straight forward motion. And there's also a start and a stop. But I think there's something wrong with the start because she's making her left hand into a fist. So I was considering using those things as well, and in the end I thought, you know what, let's keep it really short and sweet and simple and just use the forward motion here. So in order to get one onto the timeline, because if I take my cursor over it, then the character is still in its kind of A position there. So if I go and just hover over that and then left click and drag into the timeline here, then I'll see this little red strip appear here. You let go of that, and then you've got the full Aniblock at that position in the timeline. And I don't know why they've done it. If you wanted to put multiple blocks on it, you can just drag that behind it, but they never seem to snap. So I always get this kind of motion here. I'll just put 3 in there. I could also extend that, but I need to tidy up these gaps here. So I don't know why maybe there is an easier way to do it. I just don't know it. And you just go and slide them just next to one another. They kind of snap in place. Don't slide them on top of one another. But if you do this without any gaps, then the character should now walk forward, and on the edges of the Aniblock here, one will blend into the other. So the forward motion happens seamlessly. And this is kind of an interesting concept there. You can also remove that. I believe in that live stream I did a few weeks ago, in which I had a camera behind the character that followed the character. I've removed the fact that the character not only moves their arms and legs, but also moves forward at the same time. So you can remove that and then apply that manually. Sometimes that's necessary. But I'm just going to leave it as it is. 3 blocks in a row. Standard package, is it, Patrick? Thank you so much for letting me know. I sometimes these things just appear and you think, oh, that's nice, but you don't really know where they came from. I've just bought 2 Aniblock packages actually from Scar Motion. They were on sale this week, I believe, and they were for Genesis 6, kind of a jogging motion, jogging forward and jogging turns. I think the price was about $26 per package, but they were on like 75% off, so I thought that's good. I want to make a jogging animation for the title sequence, like for the pre-holding clock, where this character with the camera from behind kind of jogs through one of Stonemason's larger sets, like the Urban Sprawl sets, and just keeps jogging and jogging, and eventually then after 5 minutes or so arrives at the destination, which is a 3D Shenanigans sign or Jay's desk or something like that. So it's one of those things I'm planning for the future. The high heels, Patrick, what do you mean? Oh, from Scar Motion. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, it's a good idea to just have a look at when these things are on sale, and then put that on the wish list. So let's see how we can, with animations. The thing is always it's tricky to make adjustments to the scene. So one thing about animations, one tip I can give you is use as few keyframes as possible. So while this animation is made with Aniblocks, we're not really going to touch that. We're going to really work with our regular timeline, which when I move the slider here on the timeline, I can see that the character still moves. But the character, if I were to select her in the scene tab, doesn't have any keyframes on it. And that's because Animate does all the heavy lifting for us and interpolates all these little slider movements and stuff. I can bake that into the timeline if I wanted that, but for us that's not really necessary, because we're going to use the Animate animation for our character and everything else will be a keyframe animation. And that means that wherever I set a keyframe, which is represented by one of those little triangular black markings here, that is where a motion is kind of saved. And then if I scroll my slider forward and set another keyframe, then everything about that character is also saved. So translation, location, any kind of morphing sliders and so forth, or positions, like, you know, in lights, position, intensity for camera, things like depth of field and focal length and all that. So those are all keyframeable things, and you do that by parking your cursor somewhere else and then setting a keyframe. Sometimes, and I say sometimes because it doesn't always happen, Dash Studio also detects you've made a change in any of the parameters and sets a keyframe by itself, but not always. Hello Candice, happy birthday to you. Thank you for joining us from Twitch. Awesome. So there we go. So therefore it's important that when you make any of these changes, you have to make sure you're on the right keyframe. So sometimes you think you're on the, whatever, keyframe 50 and you've got your camera selected and you tumble around, you go, oh no, I've changed the all-important position of the camera. So there we go. Important to either be on frame 1 if you're messing around, or frame 0 rather, or just always double check that, that you're okay. I guess this is something that we need to kind of block from Twitch. Have you? Oh, good. Excellent. Thank you so much, Julia. What did you say? Okay. So there we go. Let's see if we can... yeah, exactly. And that's on Twitch. Have you got access to Twitch?
Well, I think I can do it. I'm not sure about the restream.
Oh, yeah. Let me quickly do that. No problem. Yeah, this is why we need to have a full-time moderator on the show, everyone. I'm hiring, by the way. Let me just take care of that. Yes, that's a good idea, Dreamlab. Maybe I should do that. I see, but I think actually Twitch caught it, and there's nothing on Twitch anymore. So that's just right. Maybe, yeah, actually then that went through to Twitch. Oh, well done. So this is, thank you so much for that terrible comment, because that means we've learned something else today. That means if you block something through Restream, then it'll just go get blocked for good. Cool. The power of the mods. Anyway, let's set up our camera now. So I'm going to go and the important thing is we need to find a starting position and an end position. So because I don't know what the end position currently is, I'm going to go and move my figure to the very end, and then I'm going to go and see if I can position her, frame her up properly with my perspective view just now. Let me just go and select the figure and then select that square icon. That means I have to change the framing or the focal length, but it now means I can rotate around the figure properly. Like a minute ago, I couldn't do that, and that's good if you can do that. So I can right-click the little zoom icon, and then just give it a slightly longer focal length here, and then we're going to end on something like this. This may change, but that's just a rough guesstimate here. That should be our end frame. I'm going to go and create a camera from these parameters. Yeah, they're lurking everywhere. I think they're called trolls. Let's go create a camera. I'm going to copy the perspective view attributes here. And the camera is now created, and it's also, we're still on frame 108, so we're on the last frame of the animation here. That's important to remember. Can you see that here? Because right now I don't see like a triangle thing underneath the playhead. The orange thing is the playhead, and when I move it, the character moves back. But if I now were to just reposition the camera, it wouldn't know that these are the parameters on that frame that I want to lock in. So this is something that can trip you up. So by just staying on that frame, you can use that little plus icon at the bottom here. When you hover over it, it says create a keyframe at the current time. And what's really important is that you must have the camera selected in the scene tab. So let's do that. Click plus, and that has that keyframe now. So now we can go, and with the camera still selected, we can go scroll the timeline to the beginning and find our first frame. Whatever we need to do to make it look pretty. Dolly the camera away, zoom in, zoom out, whatever. But with that selected, I'm thinking I'm going to go and move. Oh, I'm so sorry about that. Let's go and select the actual camera, very important, so that we can look through the camera. And I think I want that to be, let's see, this is what happens if I now try and rotate around the figure. I'm just turning myself stupid here. So what you want to do is select Rebecca quickly and then center her. That'll ruin our framing, but that's okay. We're just going to go and recreate that anyway. As long as we're on frame 0, everything is good. Make sure to select the camera again, and go on. Actually, we can be a little bit further back here, can't we? Yeah, so I want to start with the wide shot, something like that maybe. And then when I go and move this forward, I'd like my camera to interpolate the motion between these two keyframes. And even if it looks jerky, as long as you're happy with the last frame and the first frame, you're good. That's really all we need. I've selected the plane there, that's not good. Just select the camera in order to be able to see the keyframes there. You shouldn't get nauseous. So like one of those things is in the middle, so if I'm happy with the beginning and the end, and I'm not quite happy with the middle where she's kind of walking off to the right here a little bit, that's okay. Just select a keyframe at the position that you're unhappy with and then just change that. So I think I like for this position to be also in the middle, maybe like that. And then we'll see what that looks like. Yeah, I think that's kind of cool. But you can fall into this trap where you go and put too many keyframes in at the beginning without sorting out the beginning and the end. I think that's the point I'm trying to make. So don't put too many keyframes in that you will later regret. Make sure the first frame and the last frame is good. Everything in the middle will be just interpolated between two keyframes, and then you pick out the items that you'd like to change. Yeah, I think that's what I'd like you to take away from this. Hey Rod, and congratulations once again to your 48th wedding anniversary. That is just so super cool. So yes, I think I'm happy with that camera motion. Oh, do we all agree here? Is that cool? We're all happy with that? Because I want to see her in the wide shot. Unbelievable, isn't it? 48 years, that is just so cool. So yes. So she'll be in the darkness here, and this is where light will slowly creep in, and then she'll be fully illuminated here. So let's worry about the light and set that up in much the same way. We're going to go and start perhaps with the last keyframe, and with the camera selected and all that, we're going to create a new spotlight. So that's one thing we can just go do from the menu here, create new spotlight. There we go. We're using a spotlight because I have very good control about how much light will be on the inside and on the outside of the cone that it casts. So let's see how to do that. I'm going to use the apply active viewport transforms on camera 1. That would be her loss, Rod. That would be her loss. And with the spotlight selected, you can see that now DAZ Studio has actually created a keyframe for that. Can you hear that? Can you see that here? This doesn't always happen, so it's, just be careful about that. So it has done that, and it's now, if we look through the light, at the top here, we can look through the light. We can see what it's going to illuminate. So it's going to kind of focus on her, and everything between, everything between here, this is where the light is going to shine with its full intensity on the inside of that circle. And from here to the outside of the circle, that'll be the fall off. So on the outside it's going to get darker and darker and darker, and then literally on the outside of this circle, there'll be no more light at all. And the cool thing about this looking through the light is that we can literally get a preview of what will be in the darkness and what will be in the light. So it behaves like a camera. If I go and click this, if I go and select my REBEKAH character and click that square thing, it'll zoom in onto her. And I'll go and click my, then I'll go and adjust my light. And I'm thinking maybe something like that. It's just kind of a theory. We're going to do better adjustments there in a moment. Oh, and this is, oh, so sorry, this is the last frame, isn't it? So let's have a look at, see if we can just illuminate her upper body, head and upper body there. See what that looks like rendered. And then, of course, thinking of rendering, this isn't going to look good at all because we haven't tweaked the light itself, like the temperature, color, and intensity of the light. We haven't done that. We haven't tweaked the headlamp, and we haven't tweaked the, what's it called, the environment image. So let's do all these things. Let's start with the camera. I've got my camera open on a tab here, so we can go and make sure under the headlamp option, we're just going to go turn that feature off. No more headlamp. Then the next thing we're going to do is head over here in the render settings, and under environment, we're going to go get rid of that environment map. In fact, we can either get rid of that, or we can just go and select, instead of dome and scene, let's just use the scene lights, because we don't want to use anything else. We only want to use a single light source here. And that'll be like that. Okay, so that is, you know, a render so far, but it's of course not quite strong enough. The light isn't quite strong enough. So let's go and see how we can do that next. With the spotlight selected. Alien, hello, how you doing? Nice of you to drop by. We're making an animation today. Oh, I'm so sorry. What did you do? No, I can see the Restream bot still on Mixer. It's still coming up on my chat, and it's coming up in Vision as well. The whole gang is here. We're just fiddling on technical details. So you can, what is it that's not? Oh, tell me, please tell me. What's, okay. So you guys can see the chat, right? Chat's working fine? Let me know. All streams good? I love it. That's good. Cool. Okay. Yeah, I think so too. I think so too. Anyway, so let's make that light a little bit stronger so that she gets as lit up as actually Alien. Since you've joined a little bit later, maybe I can show you the image that we're creating here. This is the animation that we're going to create. This is the kind of look we're going for, and our character is going to step out of the darkness and go into the light. This is what we're working on right now, with all the bells and whistles. Let's try watching this again. So there's the eye blink, and there's the light that gets stronger over time, and so forth. So this is what we're going to try and recreate. And currently we're working on the light. We've got the walk animation down, and we're going to go work on the light. So that's too dark, I think. And let's make that brighter. So with the light source selected, I like to head over to the parameters tab, but much like with the cameras tab, you have a separate lighting tab under window and tabs here. If you want to have your lights displayed at all time, you can have that here. That's the lights tab. I tend to not to do that because it's just easier for me to reach that from the parameters tab. And what we need to play with here is the lights, the light tab. It gives us an intensity slider. That's going to come in handy perhaps later. We're going to leave that as it is. It also gives us the spread angle, and more importantly, it gives us here the photometrics that we're going to crank up. So I'm going to try 20,000 and see what that looks like. That's not bad. That's not bad. Perhaps we're going to make that a little bit stronger, maybe 30,000. And also, I think the other thing I want to do is just look through the light quickly. And I think I'm going to make that fall off radius even narrower. So right now I can see that this is, you can just about see where the light's going here with the spotlight selected. I think I want to go and adjust that just a little bit if I'm allowed. There we go. I just want to emphasize the head more than the rest of the body. So that's where our final shot is going to be. Let's look through the camera one more time. Yeah, I think that'll be nicer. But I still like to make the angle of the spread a little bit narrower. So let's see if we just keep an eye on the camera here. The way to do that is under light. So not under area or photometrics. It's going to be under light. And there's this thing here, spread angle. And I'll just try making this a little bit narrower, and we'll see what happens as a result there. Oh, there we go. It focuses the light a little bit more. I think 24 was a little bit much here. Let's crank that up a little bit. And that also then changes our intensity as a result. Like the light amount is the same, it's just kind of more focused into one place. Yeah, perhaps we're going to go with 40. I think is 40 good? Is that a little bit too bright? No, I think it's going to be all right. Oh, did you just super chat me, Christina? Yeah, whoa, no, David, thank you so much. Oh, okay. Yes, that is one limitation of the whole mixer system, isn't it? There are no super chat tips. Thank you so much, David. Awesome. And did that play the animation at least? Or did that also not happen? Did it not play? Okay, cool. That's good to know. Oh, DreamLab saw it? Saw the zombie guy. Oh, I didn't hear it. That's also because my speaker here tends to go to sleep after a while. One of those things. Thank you so much, David. That's very much appreciated. Usually I hear that, and today I didn't hear it. So there we go. Crazy stuff. So now that we're happy with, and remember, we're on the last frame here, last frame of the animation, we get to see the, we're on the last frame of the animation. Now we want to go back and lock this in. I mean, there is a keyframe there. I just want to make absolutely sure that DAZ Studio understands that these are the parameters of the light I'd like to lock in. So with the spotlight selected in my scene tab, and with me being positioned on the correct frame, I'll go and click that plus button here. And that'll just lock those parameters in to whatever object I've selected. And that is true for any parameter that I dial in here. So intensity, photometrics tab, translation, rotation, any of these things. So the advantage now is that when we scroll to the beginning, I don't know what the first frame of the light looks like. So I'll go and find out in a minute. It looks like it hasn't changed. Well, that's cool. That's kind of what we want. I'm going to go and make sure that on the 0th frame of my animation, my light is now set up in a way that I'm happy about it. So one of the things that I did there in my animation is I've turned the intensity down. That's one thing, or I think I turned the luminous flux down. But the other thing is that I've turned the position of the light. I just angled it down a little bit so that rather than shining the light cone at her feet, I'm going to shine that a little bit in front of her feet. So therefore the light then goes and kind of pans up at her. So let me try doing that. I think I want to do that with 2 viewports so that we can leave this one in Iray and the bottom one will just be the regular texture shaded one. I'll go and create a top and bottom viewport here. And the bottom one, yeah, I'm just going to go leave like this. And in the perspective view, I'm just going to zoom out and have a look at the whole scene here. I think I don't need the 16:9 aspect frame here. I just want to see a bit of a scene here. drag that down a little bit. So with this light selected, I'm going to go and use my 3D manipulator thing. I want to angle that down a little bit, so with X rotate. That may be tricky to do in the viewport, so I'll just go use a parameter here, and that's under general, and there's transformations, there's rotations here, so X rotate. Let's see what we can do. Yeah, something like that. Something like that. And so as you can see already here in the OpenGL preview, that'll already make the character a lot darker. So anything that illuminates her now is going to be the spill that the light creates naturally, because there's always a little bit of spill, and there's maybe some reflections from the bottom shader and all that. So in addition to that, and this is the only movement I want to change here. Let's go and click that plus icon again with the spotlight selected, so that we know it's locked in. Also, YouTube played it a little bit delayed there, Christina. We have so much to learn, aren't we? Very cool. So now if I play this forward, you can see that the light position now changes. Don't get dizzy, Patrick, don't get dizzy. And that's kind of, that's almost what we want here. It's always good to check what this looks like in between. So just like we did before, maybe in between we're not entirely happy with how this looks. So that's when we can set additional keyframes there. I think intensity-wise at the end, I'm kind of happy. I think we need a few more additional keyframes for the light to point up maybe a little bit faster. But let's do that in a moment. I think if we're happy with the intensity, let's go back onto the first keyframe and then go over back to the photometrics tab and crank that value down a little bit. So maybe we'll start with 10,000 and then just watch the top viewport here. Maybe that's cool. Maybe 10,000 is a good starting point here. From 10,000, and then we pan up, and then the light gets stronger as we go along. So let's make sure we click that plus sign again, so that those values, those parameters are locked in. Ooh, Victoria 7 is for free. How interesting. Oh yes, I think now that you mention it, I think I saw something like that. It's free for her birthday or something. Very nice. Actually, I'm kind of happy with what the light's doing there. It's just getting stronger and more focused. So I think, actually, let's leave it as exactly what it is doing right now. I think I'm kind of happy. Are you happy, Patrick, David, Christina? You're happy with all these things? Anyone? Dreamlab? Cool. Excellent. Fantastic. Let me take this opportunity and quickly save this. What do you think? It's going to make all of us even happier. Andromeda, I'm going to call that Andromeda stream scene. How's that? So that we can all tell it apart from the other scene I've made there. Just in case. Alien, you're happy? Good stuff. You see Alien, Andromeda. Oh my God, I'm only now making the connection. This is exciting. We can do that. Let's do that. I love it. Viewer suggestion. I love it. So we can do that in one of two ways. We can either mess with the color temperature. I think perhaps to make it a strong thing, let's leave the color temperature as it is and just switch over to the light tab. And on the 0th frame, or let's call it the first frame of our animation, let's do that. Let's put a little bit of a color into the light here with the wonderful Windows color picker here. I always suggest people don't go for colors like this, because that's terrible. Just go and be slightly beyond that, somewhere in this kind of area. That's where you want to be. And find your color. So maybe something like this. That's blue. And then if you need it to be darker, use that slider here. So perhaps something like that. Let's just try that. Neither have I, Dreamlab. Let's see what happens. So I can already see it's got a bit of a blue effect here. I'm going to go and lock that keyframe in. And so It's a good question. Does it even animate the color? Let's have a look. I'm just going to go to frame 30, and yes, it does. Look at that. It even cycles through colors. It makes it green, greener, yellowish. Very cool. And then it gets progressively whiter. Look at that. And then you could, instead of ending up at white, you can also end up at, I don't know, red or something. That's also a nice idea that we can try. It doesn't have to be that strong a color. It could just be a tinge. But yeah. I suppose you could, and that would then have an effect as if you're messing with either the luminous flux value or with the intensity value. That is also a possibility. That'll just reduce the light intensity altogether, I think. I mean, let's have a look. What happens if we just make that black here? No more light. Yeah, that's exactly the effect. You happy to end up with white, or shall we try giving us something like, you know, a kind of a reddish tinge? You could, yeah, that's true. You could do that too. Could have her end up this way. No, I think I don't like the sound of that. Let's leave her white. I think like starting her blue and then go on white is a great idea. Let's do that. So we haven't changed the light at the end, so I don't need to do anything about the keyframe there. Okay, so literally with the light happy. Oh my God, are we done already? That can't be. That can't be. There's got to be more to do. So. What I'm thinking of is her expression. There's the expression and the eye blink that I'd like to add there. But other than that, I think I'm happy kind of with the first frame. I'm not entirely sure about the strong color changes here. We'll only find out once we've rendered the animation, of course. Depth of field could do, but I'm not sure if we're going to see much of it because we don't have anything in the background. That is a possibility. We can do that, but I think I won't because it's just we're not gonna see anything other than our plane here. What we could potentially do is put a transparency map on the plane so that we have something just like a gradient map from black to white. If you can make one and send that to me, I'll add that there, because then we don't have that horizon here at the end, and then that just kind of blends into oblivion, and that will blend better with the composition in Photoshop. So if anyone's game, make me a 1024 by 1024 JPEG image, just a subtle gradient from pure black to pure white. That should do the trick. And then we'll put that on our plane, and that will avoid that harsh edge that we have here. Haha. So let's work with the expression here quickly. And I think in my last scene, what I did there was roughly at about the middle. I left everything from the beginning to roughly about the middle when we can just about see her face, like maybe frame 60. Let's see if we can see her face there already. I think I'm going to go back to the single viewport. No, actually, I'm going to leave it like here. So it's still a little bit dark here. Let's go maybe to frame something like this. Yeah, so we can see her eyes there. That's good. That's very good. So let's go and go to about, yeah, same frame 70, and add a bit of eye blink there to the motion. So the eye blink morph is in the character's head. So let's go and select her head here. Left click on that and say REBEKAH's head, not the Andromeda helmets. It's got to be the REBEKAH's head. Let's select that, and that now will show you on the timeline that we have no keyframes. So that's perfect. That's exactly what we want. On pose controls up here, clear that down. Under pose controls, under head, we can find eyes. And eyes has a really long list of what she can do with her eyes, like eyes relax, eyes anything cross-eyed and all that. So we just want to find the eyes open, closed morph. And this is here. That's the eyes open, closed. I think maybe for us to see that better, let me just go and zoom in onto her face here so that we get a better impression of her eyes, that we can see that a little bit better down here. And so that this thing isn't in front of it, we don't need the directions and the gizmos. I'm just going to go and click this arrow icon here, and that'll just make the gizmo disappear. I can still select items, but it'll make the gizmo disappear. So now I can see her eyes here. So the eyes closed slider works in percentage. You can have more than 100%, which is like a really close blink, but that's not what we want. So I think this, we don't actually blink our eyes like that. We don't even close them properly when we blink. We just do that much more subtle, so probably to about here. So 80% is probably enough for her to blink. And this is another thing about animation. I would think we close our eyes quicker than we open them up. I believe we all do that. So it's kind of this motion going there, like, you know, do you know what I mean? So I think I'm going to allocate 2 frames to close and 4 frames to open. That's just a guess. It that looks better than having a linear motion with, you know, 3 frames closing and 3 frames opening. So that would look that would just look too linear. That's right, exactly. That's exactly what we're going to do. So in order to make that happen, on frame 70, DAZ Studio has already created a keyframe here. That's fine. We're going to go and delete that because I want to show you how to do that. It sometimes does it when you fiddle with the slider, no matter what that slider's position is. So we can't just close her eyes on frame 70 because that would mean DAZ Studio would interpolate eyes open from frame 0 to eyes closed on frame 70, and that would look terrible. So what we need is one keyframe with her eyes open so that there's currently no interpolation from frame 0 to frame 70. Eyes are just open all the time. And then at frame 70 they're open. Now we're going to go forward maybe 2 frames, 1, 2, and at that point we're going to go and close the eyes, just like with that eyes closed slider here. No, I think to white. I think, yeah, I think make it to white, Christina, because then that means that where that position is, we don't get to see a line at all. So that would help. Biscuits, ooh, and Biscuits, thank you so much. See, I didn't hear anything again. What a shame. Thank you so much, Biscuits. Awesome. That is so cool. Super chat from Biscuits. Thank you. Yes, I think. There we go. Now I'm hearing it. Okay, there was a delay. There's definitely a super chat delay today. This time I did hear it, actually. Thank you so much, guys. That's very exciting. So cool. And the zombie is walking. Yes. Zombie. All right. So 2 frames in. We're going to go close the eyes to about here. 80-ish%. That's cool. We'll do that. Now that the eyes are closed, let's walk 4 frames forward. So 1, 2, 3, 4. You can also use that little, this little, where is it? One of these. This is step thing here. This is step to the next frame. This is that thing. So 4 frames further, we're going to go and put that back to 0. Now, sometimes DAZ Studio behaves really weird when you go and would use the reset value. So I recommend you don't do that, even though that would be the appropriate thing to do. DAZ Studio sometimes doesn't like that. I'm not entirely sure why. But let's do that manually or type in a 0. That's cool. And just to make sure, because I'm a belt and braces kind of guy, just click that plus button again so that there's definitely that keyframe there. So that will now be that eye blink here. I'm kind of happy with that. Great. The other thing, one other thing I did was to interpolate from this keyframe to the very end to add just a slight emotion into the face. So right now we haven't dialed any emotional expressional sliders in there, and that's cool. We can keep it that way, but I think it'll look really good while she's walking towards the camera, that her facial expression just changes ever so slightly, and I think we should do that. Ooh, that would be that. Absolutely, send it over. I'd love to try it out. That's a great idea. Yeah, you can stack Aniblocks. So if you have a blink Aniblock, you could put that on top of the walk Aniblock. And if it's the correct character, of course, then you could just basically repeat the loop, repeat the blinking pattern, and then have your character auto-magically blink every 2-3 seconds. So that's very cool. That makes animations a lot faster. So if you have a long sequence there, like 1,000 frames or so, it's really good to just create one blink Aniblock and just keep looping that. A wink? We could do a wink. Let's not do a wink today, Patrick. You wanted fog and everything. I've given you fog, man. I've given you everything. Let's do the wink another day. Let's go to the last frame of the animation. And I'm going to go and just shift my perspective view here over so that we can see her face a little bit closer up. And on the last frame of the animation, let's head over to our expressions. And I don't have that many installed here, but something like, you can either have shock. That's cool. Maybe we're the enemy. She's approaching us and we're the enemy. What do you think? That's one thing. We could have smile, full face. Ah, thank you so much. That's exciting. Thank you, Christina. Or they're surprised. Let me go and switch this back to texture shaded up here as well. And the expressions dial in just a little bit quicker. So which expression? We are the alien, exactly. It's also frown. Don't know if we're the alien or not. Or there's flirting. Patrick. Woo, woo. There's the wink that you were after. Perfect. There's the wink. Patrick's been hurt. Or she's maybe angry. That doesn't look like angry. That looks more like the pouty face. Or there's afraid, be very afraid, and shocked, and surprised at the same time. Now that's an expression to scare little children, isn't it? So let's not do that. Which expression would you like to see her pull there subtly? Great, thank you. Thank you, Zinka. That's exciting. Yes, the helmet moves with the face. It's kind of as good. It's nice, isn't it? Yeah, I suppose when she opens her jaw, I suppose maybe the helmet is kind of parented to the jaw, and that, or it's kind of rigged that way. That's possible. Intrigues, like maybe surprise. No, I'm not entirely sure about the mouth movement here, I must say. Maybe just shock, like what Alien said, like we are the alien. But then that doesn't look very friendly, so maybe, you know, maybe just smile, full face. I don't know, flirty. Let's try flirty. Well, that is your wink. Let's do that. Okay, let's do the wink. So we'll do that 100% ish. Yeah, this is more like a Mr. Spock type moment, isn't it? Yeah, let's do that. That's cool. We'll do that. So on the last frame, DAZ Studio has put a keyframe in here already, but you know, let's go put a plus sign in here and see what that looks like when we go and scrub through. Yeah, look at that. That's perfect. So she blinks and then she goes into this thing here. Well, that's that. We've got the blink, we've got the frown thing, we've got her coming out of the dark, revealing her slightly. The only one other thing I want to do, and I like doing that for literally all animations with characters, I like her eyes to point at the camera at all times, because right now she's just kind of staring into oblivion there. I like to make eye contact, or like her to make eye contact with us. So let's do that. That's also fairly easy to do and I need to do that on the first frame of vision, ideally. Let's go zoom onto her head, and to make sure we actually see something here, I'm going to go click Control L, and then we get the preview light. So let's right click one of her eyes and find that we can't select the eye. That's terrible, isn't it? Let's do that manually, shall we? Under the head. Long live the wink. Under the head up here, I get the left eye and the right eye. And I'll go select the left eye first, and then I'll go over here onto the parameters tab. And under MISC, we can find that we have the point at parameter. And that's cool because we can now go point that at something of our choice, like in this case, the camera. Let's do that. And hit accept. In an ideal world, the eye should have actually changed, but because this is DAZ Studio, it hasn't. So what we have to do, let's just do that with the right eye as well. Right eye, point at the camera, accept. What we have to do here is move our animation slider just a little bit, and then as soon as you move the character, this will kick into action. So there we go. don't look at this because this is not actually the camera. We're looking at the perspective view, so it's almost like she's not really looking at us here. So, but if you look at the top frame, she does in fact mesmerize us from the moment she starts walking. So at the point where the head is revealed and when we see her blink, we do actually see her looking at us. So that's what I'm hoping here. I'm not entirely sure about the wink. She just doesn't look friendly enough to me. I'm going to go click the head again, and I may just overlay another expression on that. So flirty. Maybe I'm going to also have her smile a little bit. Yeah, look, that's the evil smile. Oh, you're losing me? Oh my god, I look terrible. What's going on? Come on, keyframe, where are you? Yes, I look terrible. Oh, let me just check my streaming equipment. Oh yeah, we've got the rain now. That we've got. Is it still going on? Yeah, still. Looks like it's still going on. I hope it's gonna just snap back into action there in a minute. That does look terrible. Yeah, I'm getting all kinds of warnings here. So it looks like something is not going right between. And Mixer is kind of frozen, isn't it? Yeah, it is kind of. Maybe I'm just going to quickly stop the stream and then I'll start it again. Would that help? Yeah, do you think it's going to come back to action? Just try something. That's cool. Well, I'll tell you what. We'll give it. Can you guys still hear me, or is the audio also offline? So audio is still good. Okay, maybe I'll just go and change my around a little bit. It started to rain here, which maybe that has something to do with it. It could be.